Hi, my name is Johanna and I am new to YouTube. I've just really been doing a bunch of vlogs. I've just been like vlogging. Sorry, this is Draco, so if you hear any barking, that's my dog. Do you want to say hi? He doesn't want to say hi. But yeah, I've just been doing like a lot of vlogs, more like relaxed videos. But I wanted to come on here and do like a sit down video and just talk about all of the books that I read in 2023. I read about like 36, 37 books, give or take, off the top of my head, and from the ones I've just counted that I could find in my house, because I don't even know where half of them went, honestly. But I just wanted to talk about the ones I've read, which ones I liked, which ones I didn't like. My Goodreads is like being a little sketchy. Like I think it's glitching or like resetting itself for the new year, because it just like keeps loading. Just keeps doing that. So I don't know if I have every book in this pile, because I just don't remember everything I read like earlier in the year. I don't remember. So the first book I read this year was Court by Tracy Wolff, and I love these books. And I might as well just mention the other two I read. So then I read Cherish, and I also read Charm. I love these books. Like these are, it's like a very, it's very YA fantasy, and it's pretty much like Twilight Harry Potter mix. And there's 5 books in the series. I just think it's such an easy read. I just think it's so cute. It's not anything like revolutionary, but I love it. I'm a sucker for it. This is literally my guilty pleasure series, is this. If you just want something like light to read, light, easy, fun, love triangles, backstabbing, family drama, so it's pretty much like a school of like different kind of fantasy creatures. So there's vampires, witches, dragons, and then there's another one. All go to a school together. They all like are fighting for power. So the vampires are fighting against the dragons, are fighting against the witches for power. Charm was one of my favorites because something happens in the book and this like fills in a lot of blanks. And like when you read it, you just want to know like what happened, and this fills in a lot of those. So one of my favorites out of this whole series was Charm. Okay, the next thing, we're not gonna go in the books I read in order this year, because again, like my Goodreads just won't load. It just keeps like that, like load error, and I just can't get it. I can't even just see like all the books I've read in general, but I have no clue. So another book I read this year was House of Breath and Sky by Sarah J. Maas, and I love this series. This is one of my favorite book series. It's an adult fantasy series. I highly recommend this. The next book in this comes out pretty sure January 2024, and that's like on the top of my list to get and read. But I will say, so the first book in this series is definitely, the first half of the book is definitely like a hard pill to swallow. It's just like a lot of information and world building off, like super densely packed into the first half of that book. Like for me, that book didn't get good till around like a page 400, 450, and that's a lot of pages to read before a book to kind of like start to get good for me. But I kept like reading other people's like similar experiences online. They just said like keep going and like push through it, and I'm so glad I did, because this is the second book in the series, and the way it ended, I cannot. If you're a fan of Sarah J. Maas, like the way this ends, you will absolutely love, and you'll just want to like grab the next book and like read it as fast as possible. One of the next books I read was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yes, this is the Hunger Games prequel of President Snow, like when he was younger and he was like in high school, like graduating high school, like trying to go on to college. I love this book. I love any book that's a prequel. Like I love knowing why people are the way they are, why they think the way they do, or how they, like, why did they turn out this way. So I loved this. And then I went and saw the movie, and the movie was fantastic. And Hunger Games is one of my favorite series. And the way that they just, like, make the films is just top tier. But this book is so good. And if you like prequels and figuring out, like, why people are the way they are, go get this. The next 2 books I read, sorry, this one does not have a dust jacket. I can't find it. But I read The Shadow Wand and I read The Demon Tide by Lori Frost. Yeah, by Lori Frost. This series, so good. I don't see that many people talk about this series, but I love it. So the series is called The Black Witch Chronicles and follows a girl named Aloran is how you say it, I'm pretty sure. Sorry if you can hear scratching or like panting. My dog is just like having the time of his life digging in the couch and like just rummaging around. Like if you could see him right now. What are you doing? Say hi, Draco. Oh, now you want to stop? Now he wants to stop. Okay. But it's, yeah, so it's about a girl named Aloran, and she is the next Black Witch, who is like the all-powerful witch of like this realm. And the last person who it was, like, I'm pretty sure was her grandma, and ever since then they've been looking for the next one, and she's kind of kept her powers hidden because they do this thing called like wand, I'm pretty sure it's called wand fasting, where they test your powers. But it was her, she got put with her uncle because her parents passed away, so she got put with her uncle. I'm pretty sure it was her uncle. It was like a family member, and he knew the powers she had. What are you doing, honey? Here, you want to vote? Yeah. He knew what power she had, so he helped hide them from everybody. And there's essentially like this giant like realm war going on, and this one guy wants to take over, and so he wants to find the Black Witch to get her on his side to help him take over the realm. And she rebels against that. She figures out that she is the Black Witch and she does have all this power, and she gains all these friends from like all different places over this realm, and like they take him on. And I don't know, I just think it's a really good series, and not a lot of people talk about it. I mean, I have to find the dust jacket. I really don't know where it is, but I think it's so good. Oh, so I also reread this year Shadowhunters. I love this series. This is what really got me back into reading a long time ago, because I used to like read a lot in like elementary school, going into middle school, and then I didn't read so much when I got into high school. But after I got out of high school, this series took me back. And this is just one of my special edition books that has like these pretty gold edges, because I didn't want to take out all of the books. I just was like, let me just grab one of them. So I grabbed the pretty one. But I reread all these this year, and if you are somebody who wants to get into fantasy reading and just something like super easy, this is the way to go. I love this world. I love Jace. I love Clary. I love the books that come after this, like all the series. And I know there's like this whole complicated way, like you could search online. I guess it's not really that complicated, but there's like a way you search online, like, and people recommend like how to read these. You don't have to start with this series if you don't want, because this is like technically 6 books long, but they kind of like, people, the way people read it is like technically like break it up, and they read the first 3, and then they read like another one in the series, and then they read the other 3. You could just go straight through and read all 6 of these, but I think you will get some spoilers in the end. But this is one of my favorite series of all time, and I'm so sad they dropped the ball on the show, because I would have loved to have gotten 7 seasons or even 7 movies out of this. Books I don't have with me, but I'll try to pop on the screen. I reread all of the Summer I Turned Pretty books, and I can't find my originals. I read them back in the day, and after watching season 2, I was like, oh, I really want to reread these. So, or before season 2. I really wanted to reread them before season 2. I watched it, and I still love those books. They're such an easy read. Like Team Jeremiah, Team Conrad. I'm Team Conrad. When they came out with Jeremiah on the screen, that made it really hard for me. But in the books, I'm Team Conrad. And on the show, I'm still Team Conrad because I've read the books. But like, once they cast Jeremiah, I was like, the same thing happened with me in Twilight. Once they cast, I'm Team Edward all the way. But once they cast Jacob, I was like more torn. It was horrible. But I love those books. They're so cute. I should buy the new ones, especially since I can't find my originals that I have. I should buy the new ones with the new covers. And fun fact, one of my friends is on the face of, which book is it? I'll try to pop it in. But we were friends in middle school, and she was a model, and she used to do a bunch of things, and this just happened to be one of them. So that was like the only reason I bought these books to read, was because her face was on it. Okay, so then I read Babel, and this series was so hyped up. And I mean, it's just a book. I don't even think it's a series. I think it's just a standalone. And I don't really like standalone books. Not my favorite. And that, I think, is why I love the Shadowhunters realm, because Cassandra Clare literally has written, what, 16 books or more at this point, and I love that. But so I read Babel, and I read it because everybody was raving about it. I love England, I love London, I love Oxford. I've been there twice. It's such an amazing, like, city slash town, whatever they call it in England. I love it there. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and this takes place like back in old England in Oxford, and it is a magic system where they use language to create magic, and I thought that was super interesting. But it was just a little too confusing for me, and I couldn't really follow some of the stuff with the language. Like, it was just a little too intricate. But I know a lot of people did like this, so if you are looking for something with like a different magic system than what you have read before, sorry, there he is. It doesn't have like witches and dragons and like all that stuff, but so if you're looking for like a different type of fantasy, this would probably be right up your alley. I did enjoy it, but it just was a little too, like, I had to keep going back and like reread a bunch of stuff because I just like wasn't computing it in my brain. One of the next series I read was Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. So I read book 1, 2, and 3 this year. I don't even know how to hold this up correctly. I don't even know if that's like in the right order. I read all 3 of these this year, and I love this series. This was such a good series. I think the 3rd book was is that even the 3rd book? I'm just holding up random books at this point. That's the 2nd book, Hannah. Kingdom of the Feared is the 3rd book. This one, I think, was my favorite out of all 3. But I really like this because it's about one of the 7 princes of hell and like these 2 twin girls. And they have magic, and they've always been told to like fear any of the princes of hell. Don't talk to them, don't go near them, any of that. And it takes place in Italy, in Sicily, and my family, our background, we are Sicilian, and I just thought that was so cool. I don't think I've ever read a book that heavily takes place in Sicily, and this one does. And then the second 2 eventually like take place in the underworld. But yeah, I really like this. This was super fun to read, Witches, Princes of Hell. Do I need to say more? I mean, and I just picked it up the other day at Barnes & Noble's, the next book, and it is about envy. So I'm super excited to read that book, and I'll probably read that like in January. Picked up this book, Book of the Night by Holly Black. I love Holly Black, and that's honestly why I picked this book up. I'm out of focus. But I didn't love this book, most of it. I mean, it was good. I think I gave it a 3. I think I might have given it a 3 stars. I'm not 100% sure. This is her adult debut. novel, Holly Black, and she's one of the, like, my auto-buy authors. I mean, almost everybody I've talked about is almost an auto-buy author at this point. But I just didn't love this book. It was a little weird. It was kind of slow in the beginning. Like, I just wasn't understanding the point of the story. And then all of a sudden, like, at the end is when it got good. So I did like the ending, and it did wrap up nicely for me. But I just didn't love it. Would I recommend this book? I mean, it was an okay read, but I mean, it wasn't one of my favorites. Okay, so speaking of auto-buy authors, I read Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, and this was her debut adult fantasy novel as well. And I love Cassandra Clare, one of my favorite authors of all time. I didn't hate this book, and I didn't love this book. I gave this a 3 stars on Goodreads. I'm definitely gonna buy the second book in the series of this and read it and like give it another try because I do love her. But I think maybe it just like was a lot of world building. There wasn't that much character development in the books for me. And like nothing really happened for me in these books. Like the ending there was like a little something, but it wasn't enough to like keep me on my toes. And like every time like something good was gonna happen, it then just like kind of fell right back down. And this, what is this? I mean, I'm sure all of you have seen this book or have heard of this book, and or even Cassandra Clare. But it is, yeah, it's about a girl named Lynn, and she's a physician, and she has like these magic abilities that like I guess they don't really want you to have because she's so good at being a physician, and like they don't have a lot of female physicians, so she kind of like had to fight her way for that. She finds herself like in with the prince, who is Kel, and then technically his twin, I guess you could say. So he has like a person who, if they know he's going to be in danger, and they call him the sword catcher, and that's hence the name of the book, he steps in place of the prince because they don't want the prince to die. So she gets thrown in with them too, and then also like the criminal king of the underworld. Yeah, they're trying to like bring down a kingdom, but again, this is the first book, and like I said, it was just a lot of like character or like world building, not too much character development. So hopefully in the second book, like we'll get more of that. But I give it a 3. I'm so sorry, Cassandra Clare. I love you so much. And I really think the second book is going to be so much better. I really, really do. So that's why I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to read it. Again, a super easy read, just a little thick. See, it wasn't anything like too complicated. So if you are looking for an easy adult fantasy read, this is probably it. And then I picked up this book because of the color. The color is so freaking pretty, and I don't have that many books this color, but it is A Crown of Ivy and Glass, and I picked it up because of that. And that's the reason why I'm not going to give this book away, is because of that. I did not love this book. I think I gave it like a 2, which is sad because it had the potential to be such a good book. It just felt like 2 different books in one for me, and they didn't like cohesively blend, and it just was like really confusing. And it is like about this girl, what is her name? Gemma. Okay, this girl Gemma. It's about her and her family, and she's kind of sick, and like the family's supposed to be like blessed with powers and magic, but she wasn't, and she's just more sickly and fragile, and everyone kind of treats her that way, and she's kind of sick of it and over it. But she meets like this like I wouldn't call her like a stranger, but meets this other person named Talon, and he's trying to get his family's name back in good graces, and then she's got the family status name. So they like work together because he wants to get his family name back, and she wants to take down this rival family of hers. And then there's just like a bunch of twists and turns, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I honestly would not recommend this book, but if you want a pretty color book for your bookshelves, I would highly recommend. I reread this year A Court of Thorns and Roses because I read this like 2 years ago, but then I never read the following books. And so I needed to reread this, and I still enjoyed it like I did the first time. And then I read the other two, A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Mist and Fury. So I read this whole series again this year. What, Dwakey? And I absolutely loved them. And I still need to read, I think it's like a novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight. I have not picked that up yet. But the reason why I don't think I picked that up yet is because they stopped making these covers. And I don't want to buy the book that doesn't match this, because that's really going to annoy me. And it's not even like my shelves are color coordinated, most of them. So it's not even like they're next to each other. But if one day I do decide to do that, I don't want them to not like coincide and go with each other. So I might just have to read it on my Kindle. But I do have A Court of Silver Flames, and I really want to read that too. I heard everybody really liked that book, so that I'll probably read in 2024 as well. But I think everybody on BookTube, Book Twitter, Book Insta, Book Talk has heard of this series. So, I mean, go read it. It's honestly amazing. That's why you've probably heard of it. Read that. Because, again, she is my auto-buy author. I read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. And I think I gave this a 3 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it as much as the Vulcan Air series. I love that series. And this one is just a spin-off of that. And it is about a young girl named Surin. And she's like the child queen of the Court of Teeth. And she was like exiled to the human world. And it is about her adventure like coming back in to that whole realm. But it's a good, easy read. I enjoyed reading it because I do like that world, but I didn't love it. It wasn't one of my favorite reads of the year. It was cute, and like, it was a cute and fun read. I haven't seen this book on the internet really anywhere. Like, I don't think anyone's really recommended it, but I just kept seeing it at my local Barnes & Nobles, so I picked it up. It's called The Bone Shard Daughter. And unfortunately, I just did not like this book. I think I gave it 2 stars, and I was being like pretty generous with that, which is, I feel so bad about. I hate giving books bad star ratings. Like, it really hurts me, but I just could not it was so hard to get through this book. I almost DNF'd it, but I just really didn't want to do that. One of like my own little goals this year was like to not DNF a book, and I didn't, but I just couldn't. It just took me forever to get through this. I was like excited that this daughter was like gonna show her dad what's up, and like she was gonna be queen, and she was gonna conquer this like really like badass magic. That's not how this book went for me. It just fell short with the magic. It was like a little weird, the bone shards and all that stuff. It was just strange, and I did not like it. In October, I know that, I read Hooked, and this is kind of like a Peter Pan retelling, but like not really. And this is like adult dark romance fantasy, and I loved this book. This is like a mixed review online, but I loved it. It's about Hook and then Wendy, and he is like this drug dealer, like bad kind of guy, and she's like this good girl who has like a rich dad, and she doesn't really do anything too out of line, but like she wants like attention from her dad, and she's not getting it, so she kind of gets it from somebody, and that's Hook. And what she doesn't know is that Hook has a vendetta against her father, but then some interesting things happen. So if you like adult dark fantasy romance, this is for you. And then keeping on that vibe, Blood Orange. And like, look at this book. This is beautiful. This is a hardcover. This is not a paperback. I bought this on Amazon. I love this book. And they print like the cover right on the book, and it's just like this nice silky feeling. Like, this was well worth the money that I paid for it. But this is about Dracula and then witches and like a witch hunter, and her like job is to go kill him. And holy crap, is this spicy. I loved this book. And this book takes place in Italy, but it's not about like necessarily like Italians, whereas that's like what the Wicked Kingdom was. It was like their Italian family. But this takes place in Italy, in, I can't think of it, the place with all the water. But he's a professor and he teaches like music, and she's an organ player is how she gets in there, and she is just essentially to get on his good side and kill him. But does this book get spicy? And there is a second one to this that I need to order and read, but just like, if you don't want to read this book, just buy it because of how gorgeous this is. Like, what is that? I just loved this book. And then I also read One Dark Window. Loved this. Loved this. I just picked up 2 Twisted Crowns, and that's going to be one of my first reads in January 2024. But this book is amazing. I loved it, and I think everybody on the internet loves it. And it's just about a girl who has this like guy trapped in her head, and she doesn't know like who he is or like why he's even really there. Like, she just calls him the Nightmare. And this world has like this magic system with like a deck of cards almost. So like each card does something different, and like anybody who possesses that card can use that magic. And her power is like she takes the powers from the card. So that's kind of what happened to her with the Nightmare, and it's called the Nightmare card. She kind of took that power, and this guy wound up in her head, and they go on like a hunt for all 12 of the cards, and boy, is that good. Loved that book. Highly recommend. And then the last book I just read of this year, which I still have 2 more, but we'll talk about those last. The last book I just literally finished yesterday is The Foxglove King, and I actually really enjoyed this book. Again, nothing revolutionary. I give it a 3.5, 4 stars, more leaning towards 4. But it is about a girl named Lore, and she technically is like a necromancer, and they find out that she can like manipulate the dead, and that is like a very bad thing to be in this world. Like, unless you're like one of the priests, they don't like people who have what they call mortem, and she has it, but she keeps it under the radar, or so what she thought, which she then gets caught by the king and his court, and she is thrust into that world because the king wants her to spy on his son because he is convinced that he is a traitor to the crown. And so she gets thrust into court life with the king's son, and then who technically isn't, but they, for the purposes of her, like why she's in the court, who she is, she has a cousin, and he was not exiled, but kind of exiled from the court because his dad was a traitor. And or you get this magic mortem is by having a near-death experience, but Lore didn't have that. She was born with it, and she is like the most they've ever seen, so they really want to like wield her magic and go from there. But yeah, I thought this was a really good book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, and I'm excited to see where it goes, because then it starts to bring in like gods and stuff like that. Again, not a very hard read. It was super easy, but I really liked it. And then my favorite, and my camera's gonna die again because I didn't charge it that much. My favorite 2 books of the year is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I loved these books, and these are the only 2 books I gave 5 stars all year. I had some really close ones, but 5 and 5. This series is so good. Like, I'm obsessed, and I think everybody on the internet is obsessed as well. But this one came out, and then this one came out like 2 months later, and I scooped them up. I scooped this one up so quick, and I had to go to 2 different Barnes & Nobles just to even find this. And it definitely lives up to the hype for me. I love it. I'm obsessed with dragons now. I need to read everything with dragons, and I picked up some more books with dragons, but I read Iron Flame in November, and I had the biggest book hangover of all time that it took me forever to read the Foxglove King because I started this right before I got this. So I was only like 60 pages to 100 pages deep in this, and I just stopped this and picked this right up and read it, and I just couldn't fathom to read anything after this. But I did want to finish the Foxglove King. But yeah, these were my favorite 2 books of this whole year. All of 2023, these were them. Loved them. But yeah, my camera is gonna die. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. This is my first like sit down YouTube video, and I'm definitely gonna try to do more of these. I just don't know. I like vlogs because they're like chill. I can pick up the camera whenever and film, and there's no like pressure filming for vlogs. Whereas like I feel like sit down videos are just like kind of terrifying essentially. But I'm really glad I got to do this one, and maybe I'll do like what I'm gonna read for January or what I want to read in 2024. But thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has an amazing New Year's Eve. I hope everybody's safe and just has a wonderful 2024. If you like the same books, please let me know. If you have any recommendations, also let me know, because I'm down. If you don't have the same style of books you like as me, I'm still open to like recommendations. If there's like a book that you really love and like want people to read, like let me know, because I'm down to try any book. Honestly, I'm open to anything. But yeah, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear what your top book of the year was, and if it was Iron Flame, feel free to message me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Bookstagram. I'll leave that down below. Say bye, Draco. Say thank you for watching. Bye. So many books. Ugh. I gotta put them all away now. Okay, we're done. We're done. Ooh, so many books. Ooh, ooh. This is being annoying. What was the first book I even read this year? What did I read? Oh. How am I like losing books? What is it about? I had never... You're not doing that. Just read this so you think I remember. How do people take thumbnails? This is so hard.